Hello and welcome to HAZMAT, the only show that's got all a bit confused and now thinks Margot Robbie invented the atomic bomb. Is that what happened?
That's the impression that I got.
That's kind of what I've taken away from all this.
I know, I kind of stepped in and then I fell asleep for about 2.5 hours, and Margot Robbie was wearing Birkenstocks or something.
Yeah, and then I went into the next screening, fell asleep there, and then I don't know, Einstein was there.
God, I was just kind of passing out intermittently throughout the day. I was very overworked.
I shouldn't have had that many shots before we went into the screening. I'm Matt.
And I'm Harry.
And today we're reviewing Barbie and Oppenheimer.
It doesn't roll off the tongue super good, does it? If only they'd come up with
a
phrase that...
I wish they came up with something.
It would be nice if they just come up with something.
Well, let's come up with one right now.
Oh yeah, Oppen Barbie.
Doll bomb.
Dream science.
Ooh, I like that. Margot Murphy.
That's oh my god, that just sounds like a real person.
Margot Murphy. In a parallel universe where they got married.
Ooh.
Oh. Anyway.
I hope they're having fun wherever they are.
So first things first, Barbie. We really enjoyed Barbie.
I had so much fun.
It felt like an older film. I'm not talking 70s. I'm just talking I don't know, 2000s. Like a pre-Marvel comedy that you'd get in the cinema. Because it's been a big discussion in the last few years of kind of comedy films aren't really on top at the moment. You don't really see them in the cinema. It's more in TV shows now and on streaming.
Yeah, I can't really remember the last sort of time I saw a comedy in the cinema.
Just a straight up
just a straight up comedy movie.
Yeah. And this kind of felt like it brought some of that back to blockbuster status.
Yeah, it was super refreshing in that yes, there's a lot of kind of fantastical elements to it, but for the most part, yeah, it was just kind of very straight up comedy. I think it's one of those things as well where obviously it had a super important message to it, but it was quite clever in that there's one message that is the surface level message, and it's the one that stands out in the dialogue that they're literally talking about. But then there's these kind of other underlying things going on that you kind of pick up and notice on.
Yeah, for me, it was about being human. Obviously, literally, it was about becoming
It's about a vampire and a werewolf and a ghost living in a flat together.
Yeah. No, it was about human nature and how we've structured our society, and kind of from the point of view of an outsider's perspective. It makes us look at these systems that we've upheld and the patriarchy and all that stuff, and how we've kind of all just been conditioned to go along with this, but none of us really want to.
Because a lot of people didn't like this movie on the basis that they thought it was anti-men, and those are the kind of people I probably wouldn't hang out with.
No, I'm not going within 100 feet of any of those guys.
But I don't think it takes any side on the debate of gender. I think it's more it's about individuality, and it's the place where the movie ends up is saying that you shouldn't let what you are define who you are.
Yeah,
it's about finding your own individual purpose.
Yeah
the whole anti-men thing, I get people saying men are portrayed in such a weird goofy kind of way, but I think they all had problems about the way they were portrayed as being kind of doting on the Barbies and
right.
subservient and what. But the whole thing I got was it's not anti-men. It's kind of both genders are portraying the strife of women.
The men are almost portrayed in ways that women are usually portrayed in stuff like this.
Yeah, I kind of got it was the Barbies and the women's side kind of represents the strife and the issues that women have now, and what the Kens were doing was representative of where things were years ago,
right? Yeah,
what they've been through in the past, and it's kind of a comparison of where we are as opposed to where we used to be, and how there's still those glaring issues of inequality and trying to find balance, because that's the whole kind of thing is they mention in the movie about how the Kens have to work hard, and then eventually they'll find themselves in a position where women are in the real world.
It's the Greta Gerwig sort of theme where everyone thinks she's so anti-men, but she's not. She's it's pro-women.
There's the big issue that so many people just don't seem to be able to comprehend is that being pro-women does not mean you are anti-men.
Yeah, it's not one or the other. Other than the sort of the deep underlying themes, which are all very well done, it's on top of it is a very bright, fun romp. It was interesting how they did the real world and the toy world, but never really got into the mechanics of why that exists. They sort of made a bit of a reference to it when one of the workers at Mattel was like, is it like an alternate dimension or like a rift in time and space? And like Will Ferrell was like, it's just both. I don't know. It's just like, whatever. Like they didn't really like properly explain that, and I kind of liked that.
Yeah.
Like they didn't feel like they had to,
because that's not what the movie's about.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, yeah, they're toys, and now they can come into the real world and vice versa. Cool. I'm happy to just go along with that.
Yeah, I think like we've got to a point where everyone's like very cynical about film, and so like filmmakers feel the need to have to over-explain everything because you get those type of people that will try and pick apart everything.
It's the cinema sinsification of
yeah.
If you're watching Cinema Sins, we'd like to start beef with you, so DM us and we'll get that sorted out.
That's how beef
starts.
Hi, we're writing to you today to inform you that we would like to start a beef with you. So if you'd like to get in contact in the near future, that would be great. All the best. Looking forward to hearing from you. Yeah, we're talking about kind of like the fun, refreshing feel of it, and like even in the soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack
just
is
some absolute bangers.
Great, yeah.
Pop songs with that plastic sort of noughties feel to them. When was Barbie Girl? 90s actually, like the Aqua song.
Yeah, it would have been either like late 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, it feels like the sort of soundtrack has gone for that sort of feel.
That kind
like
of feel. I mean, they have that song in it, but it's like a kind of remix.
Yeah, it's Nicki Minaj and Ice Spice that did the remix for that.
Yeah.
There's the Dua Lipa song.
Dua Lipa's in the movie.
Dua Lipa is in the movie. That's my one gripe with the movie, is not enough Dua Lipa.
Not enough John Cena.
Not enough John Cena either. I would have loved more scenes with Dua Lipa than John Cena.
It's interesting how like there's a very obvious conflict presented in this movie, but no one is presented as like an outright villain. Ryan Gosling's Ken kind of has this whole arc of being introduced to the idea of the patriarchy, and it's kind of representative of like toxic masculinity and how like corrupting that is.
Yeah, because they sort of built up to this plan that they were all enacting to get rid of the Ken hierarchy that they built up, and it sort of seemed like it was setting up for that classic like they almost get there but then like something goes wrong, but then they just kind of like successfully did it because it wasn't really about like defeating Ken.
No, Ken's not a villain.
Yeah, it showed that like the Kens, like they didn't really want it. They just felt like they should because Ken had been exposed to like all the stuff from the real world.
It's crazy like the way it's presented in that like he does this like horrible thing, and at the end it's Barbie who is still like apologizing to him because like she kind of didn't treat him with respect or like took him for granted. But then she imposes the idea that like all the Kens have kind of been in this situation where they exist purely to kind of dote on and get the attention of the Barbies, and like, and he's like, it's always been like Barbie and Ken. It's Barbie and Ken. They're a package deal. And she's like, well, you're gonna have to figure out like who like just Ken is. But like the whole original idea of Barbie was that it was like use your imagination. Barbie can be whatever you want Barbie to be.
It's honestly like way better than it had any right to be, this film. Like I'm glad that the people that did it are the ones who did it. Greta Gerwig did an amazing job. The cast were all incredible.
Will Ferrell doing his Will Ferrell thing. Just...
we haven't seen him do his Will Ferrell thing for a while, I feel like, and he's sort of back.
Yeah, even in like, I think the last thing I saw him in was like Spirited, and I feel like it was still kind of a little like pulled back and
a little muted.
In that.
Some of the comedy was quite surreal, which I liked. There was the bit where they were chasing them around the office, and it was very like,
I love that.
Was very odd
sequence,
and weird and fun.
Yeah, more John Cena, please.
More John Cena,
more Dua Lipa, and
bring Will Ferrell back for more films. Whoever's in charge.
Yeah, who just let Will Ferrell do his thing. Final thoughts. Where would you put this?
Where would I put it?
Yeah, number wise.
Oh, I was going to say on my DVD shelf.
I'm going to put this right in my collection.
Honestly, number wise, 9, I think.
I think I was thinking like
8.5. 9.
Yeah, because I was thinking like, what have I rated other things before? And I'm sure like Guardians 3, I gave a 9. I don't know whether I liked it quite as much as Guardians 3.
I mean, the rating system for me is kind of per film, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's like way more relative. Maybe
yeah,
like
is. Because like so many films you can't really compare them.
Yeah.
But like I think it's high. So like 8.5.
I just can't think of much wrong with it.
Fair, no. But yeah, I think like 8.5, 9 mark. That's
Yeah, fine.
probably around the right.
Let's call it
ballpark.
8.75.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Let's introduce a new decimal. We've never gone quite that granular.
Oh, I
but
can't
we'll
wait.
do that.
I can't wait till we get into like recurring
Oh
numbers.
god. Moving on to our second feature, Oppenheimer.
God, what a disappointment that was.
What?
I
Really?
mean, well, just in the sense that like I thought we were gonna go see Oppenheimer, the story about the guy who created Burger
Oh.
King, and so when I saw a 3 hour biopic about a guy wearing a hat, it was a little different to what I was expecting.
Well, that's your fault for thinking
me for-
Oppenheimer was a thing.
For me, for not wearing
It's
my
been
glasses.
very clear that this is about the atomic bomb. All the advertising has been around the fact that it's the atomic bomb.
Well, I just thought they'd
Burger
like.
King wasn't even mentioned.
I thought it was just like it was a representation of like the explosive taste of a flame grilled Whopper.
Okay, kind of a metaphor. No, I don't. I think if they're gonna do a film about the Whopper, it's not gonna be that metaphorical.
That's probably on me. That's probably on me.
Damn.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where it's very hard to talk
It's
about
hard to
because
talk
we're still
about.
kind of processing it.
Yeah, we literally just saw it today. The pacing was like relentless in a good way. Like I didn't quite expect that. I thought it was going to be a bit slower and a bit more building tension. It did build tension, but the fact that it was sort of told through these like two separate like hearings that were going on, it sort of made a lot of the film feel like it was flashbacks being told by separate people, and we were seeing certain bits from other people's perspective, and it really just like felt like the film was just galloping like straight away. I don't know if I was expecting a bit more of a like slow burn.
It's weird to the point where like it has very few moments where I talk about in like terms of like video games, specifically in like open world games. The whole idea of like traveling the map is supposed to be this kind of moment for you to reflect and take in like big kind of the moments of like emotional release. So like some big story development happens and then you have this moment to yourself to kind of process what happens, but like it doesn't have many of those throughout the movie.
Right.
It's just like, here's a development, now we're moving on to something else that's
Yeah.
happening, but you don't get like a moment to kind of process. It continues to like pile things on top and on top and on top.
Honestly, yeah, you put that into words exactly how I'm feeling about it. You don't have time before it like moves on to the next thing. That's why it feels so like intense the whole time.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it. Once I got used to that, I kind of liked it. I was just so taken aback at like how... So the start of it felt very montagey, and I was kind of like, okay, we're getting to know where he comes from. We're getting a bit of his background here. But it kept going, and the scenes were kept just being very, very short, and it kept flashing back to these hearings. I was like, right, this is going to be the whole thing then. So once I'd like settled into it, I think it really worked.
I think it makes sense for it to kind of be paced that way, to build that tension up and build it up and build it up. And
I mean, it had to cover a lot of time.
it's
in
it's
3
a lot of
hours.
time,
Yeah.
a lot of things to cover, and it's because of like I guess the scale and the significance of the events that they're recounting.
Yeah.
It's kind of giving you that sense of experiencing what they're experiencing, because like I mean the amount of like pressure they must have been under, and the emotional weight, and like the ethical kind of questions and turmoil they must have been under. It of course like it would be like a huge weight or like a huge burden for them, and like it's that idea of kind of forwarding that onto the audience.
Yeah, that feeling of impending dread of like everything keeps moving and you can't stop it, and like what have we done? We've come too far.
This movie is like the
we've
actual...
come too far to stop now. Like you have to just keep going, and the train keeps getting faster and faster. I love the like stamping and the applauding.
Yes,
he
yeah.
kept teasing, and then you realize at the end it's the audience cheering for him. When there's this scene where he's like what? Oh my god, was this like a huge
What have I done?
mistake? Like yeah,
It's the actual like literal embodiment of I've won, but at
But
what
at what
cost? Well cast as well, like
Very well
as it
cast.
had to be, because the whole movie is carried by these performances.
Yeah. We get a lot of characters introduced. A lot of them are almost bit parts in a way, but they're all obviously, real people that were involved. Yeah, we just had so many people thrown at us that it was like hard to keep track, but these performances like made a lot of them more memorable than they would be maybe.
Yeah, because we talked a little bit afterwards about like the weirdness of talking about it, like because we're so used to being like, oh, the way this character was done or the way this character was done, and you're looking there realizing these aren't like characters. They're still like interpretations, like dramatic recreations of them, but they're like real people.
But these were real guys involved.
It's a weird thing like watching these kind of movies, because I suppose it is kind of the effect of how like heavily dramatized they are, because you kind of watch these movies and think, oh yeah, but like this actually happened.
Yeah. It's hard to have tension and peril and dread in something like that when we already know the outcome in real life. There's obviously the moment where the bomb gets tested first. There's these very slight doubts that it could just straight up like destroy the world in like one blast. And obviously that didn't happen because we're all sitting here today watching the film.
Yeah.
But I think it still does quite a good job in that we're already so locked into this journey now that you're sort of in it with them. You're in that moment with them, like right before it goes off. You feel the dread they felt. Obviously, you know how it turned out. Like you're not actually like, oh my god, what's going to happen?
No, but you kind of feel the emotional weight of like how they're feeling.
You can appreciate like the heaviness of like what that moment must have felt like at the time. And the way like the bomb was done where the sound was delayed, you expected the explosion straight away when it went off. Obviously it's like 10, 9, 8, it's count down, and then it goes off and it's just like silence and like breathing. I thought that was done incredibly well.
I mean, like what a like crazy like ensemble as well. Like you said, like some people just felt like bit part, but they're still like big names. Like Rami Malek's just kind of there. He's just there in the movie, and it's like Rami Malek's like a big name actor.
He's just sort of 3 scenes. Some of the reveals were quite funny because it felt like we were revealing the actor, not the character. Like the Casey Affleck reveal, General Pash, I think was his name. They didn't show his face until he was sat in the office with Oppenheimer, and I was like, who is it going to be? Is it someone we've seen already? Like, who is it? And then it was Casey Affleck. I was like, okay, cool, it's Casey Affleck.
That's him. That's General Pash. He's my favorite character.
Like, I don't know if what he was going for was there's maybe people who know the history of this quite well, or people that are into physics. People that are into physics, physicists. This is like people's jobs. You can
be into physics and not be a physicist.
Yeah, true. That probably know the story and know who was involved and stuff. That there maybe is people out there that were like, General Pash. Oh my god, yeah, I know that guy.
Like
whereas
very
people
old
like,
people.
hey, that's Ben Affleck's brother.
Just like very, very old people.
It's just very old people going, oh my god.
You think like that's
General Pash, is that you?
That's what I was like thinking about the whole time. I feel like there were some like older people there. And I was like, why are you here watching this movie? You lived it. You were there.
Well, then we're still getting films about like stuff that happened like 10 years ago.
Like
Boston bombings and all that sort of thing.
Like even like more recent than that. I can't remember what's the whole hedge fund movie thing.
Oh yeah. Cool. I mean, it's just getting closer and closer.
Something will happen yesterday, and I'd be like, we're doing it.
Yeah, the film will be announced tomorrow and be out next week.
Not quite as fun and bouncy soundtrack on this one.
No, more of sort of a
very subtle orchestral.
But I did notice how much music was utilized in it, which I think helped with the almost montagey pacing of it. There was this sort of orchestral, not even a full orchestra, just a violin or something
just like
at certain times, or
a
cello, just like very subtle score underneath it, and it was for like most of the scenes, which made the silence of the bomb so much more impactful, I think, because the rest of the film is so noisy and quick and like cuts around so much that when the bomb went off and it was silent and we were just focusing on like the bomb going off.
Yeah, it's almost like all the rest of it is very like it's very movie. Yeah, if you know what I'm saying. It's like it's very much you're watching a movie, and then when they take that all away, it's like this is the moment it's real.
Yeah. You're there with them.
But yeah, one gripe: more John Cena.
More John Cena. More
Dua Lipa. Let Will Ferrell do his thing,
man. Come on,
because he's great. Come on,
he's great.
We never get to see Will Ferrell do his thing anymore.
Lately.
So what did you think?
Really good. I think, like, I don't know if I need more time to process Oppenheimer. It feels like it should be the better film because it's so much more prestige, but I just enjoyed Barbie more.
Which is weird because, like, I feel like these two movies and, like, the way they've been put together is the representation of our two tastes when it comes to film. For me, it's, like, the bouncy, fun fantasy movie, and then for you it's like the brooding story about existentialism and like moral crisis.
I am okay, by the way, everybody. Don't worry, I just like sad films. I would sooner watch Barbie again, though. That being said,
it's an easier rewatch for sure.
I absolutely loved Oppenheimer, and I will not forget it. I'm going to be thinking about it a lot, but obviously Barbie is an easier, more fun experience to watch.
With the memes about it both coming out, it's crazy how they're both kind of really important movies in the messages they portray.
Absolutely. So I guess just a really round, solid 8.
I'd maybe even go higher. It's like it's one of those movies where like it's a movie I know I really liked, but I wouldn't be rushing to rewatch.
I think that's why I'm not going higher. Not that that's like the category for a good movie is whether you want to watch it again. I do want to watch it again because I think I'll get more out of it now that I know how to go into it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like I was
What
saying,
to
it took me
expect
a bit to kind of get settled into it and realize what they were doing. But as it stands, it's like
I'd say
it's
maybe
good.
higher,
It's unforgettable.
but not as high as Barbie. I think.
Yeah.
Just personal preference wise, I think.
Well, if Barbie was 8.75, Oppenheimer 8.7.
Let's go 8.638.
Yeah, perfect.
We're gonna have to start like a document to keep track.
Yeah,
of
we're gonna have to
all
keep
of
track of all
ratings.
these ratings. Oh my god, it's getting pretty granular.
Put up the graphic. 8.638.
8.638 for Oppenheimer, 8.75 recurring for Barbie. Just what an event! What a film event to like have experienced.
I mean, like
these
amount
two
of
things at the same time.
The amount of people who must have gone to see like a double bill of these movies, like just for the meme, and then come out just being emotionally distraught. And we're definitely not repeating that with Saw Patrol.
Yeah, Saw Patrol can fuck off. We're not doing Saw
We're not
Patrol.
doing Saw Patrol.
Right.
I mean, we'll definitely do Saw
I
Patrol.
mean, we're gonna do
But
Saw
we're not-
Patrol.
We're doing Saw Patrol, but we're not
Gonna
doing
do Saw Patrol.
Saw Patrol.
Man, okay. Thank you for watching HAZMAT reviewing Barbenheimer.
If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see us do more stuff like this in the future, you can support the channel by leaving a like, by subscribing, or by leaving a comment. And as always, all of our socials will be listed down in the description.
And join us next time, where I put on a very cool hat, I smoke a cigarette, and I stand by a lake.
And I'm going to go fully pink with tassels. It's the only 2 personalities there are.
Bye.
Bye!